Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I know it's just been a couple days since my life after cancer video, but the day after I did that video, I spent some time with my mom, went and picked her up, we had lunch. We went to the cemetery. She wanted to go visit my sister at the cemetery. And as you guys know, I lost my sister to breast cancer, and my mom has actually lost 3 of her 5 children. So my sister was 39, died of breast cancer. My brother Mark was 19, he committed suicide. And my brother Frank was 47, and he died of a drug overdose. So needless to say, I couldn't even imagine losing 1 child, much less 3 children, and then almost losing me with my cancer, or the cancer that I had in 2012. I could only imagine that it is beyond comprehension of what a heavy heart that she carries with her on a daily basis, because you know, I miss my brother Mark. We were 18 months apart, and I miss him so much. And not knowing the state of his mind when he committed suicide has always bothered me over the years. That we were so close that I didn't know, and I didn't know how to reach him. And even though I talked to him and I asked him questions, when I saw that he was changing, I feel like I should have pushed more. And I think we all do that. I think we're all guilty of that. We feel like, you know, there was something else I could have done. I should have done more. I should have tried more. I should have talked and asked more questions. But that's just life. And, you know, life doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And, you know, we are there for people to the best of our ability, because we're all struggling. And, you know, it kind of just goes to show how intense mental illness can be, and how traumatizing it can be, and devastating to, you know, the individual, to the families that lose people to suicide. And losing him as my best friend was probably the hardest thing that I've ever experienced in my life. Yeah, it's definitely the worst thing that I ever endured. As far as like losing somebody close to you, that was, you know, of course, losing my sister and my other brother. My dad ultimately died of a drug overdose as well when I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, and she'll be 25 this March. So we've had a lot of losses due to mental illness in our family. My mom's sister's daughter, who was also very close to me and my brother, she actually committed suicide as well. And that was a pretty tragic, very tragic suicide. And I might do a video, another mental health video, and kind of, it's really gruesome. So I have to try to figure out how to break it down. I mean, it is very disturbing. My dad's sister, her daughter hung herself, and it was within a few years later of when my brother committed suicide. So definitely mental illness does run in the family, and that's why I'm so passionate about talking about it, and about, you know, being open and transparent as far as what I go through. And, you know, there's a lot of it still in my family, and I've been trying to break that generational curse for so long. And I just believe that, you know, one day God is just going to do a miracle, and hopefully one day we'll all be cured of, you know, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorders, mood disorders, and everything that goes along with that, being on medications, not being on medications, self-medicating. There's so many different forms of dealing with it. And suicide obviously is the ultimate choice that, you know, we want to avoid for ourselves and for our loved ones. But the reason that I want to do this video is because the day that my mother and I, was actually yesterday. Yesterday we went to the cemetery to visit my sister. Now my sister was buried, and my brother and my dad were cremated. and they're in a different place at the cemetery. So they're in the mausoleum, and my sister's out, obviously, in the open, because she was buried. So we were, you know, it had been a while. I usually like to go a couple times, like in the summer or the fall. I would ride my motorcycle up there and just kind of go sit, and it's just so peaceful. I mean, it sounds maybe, I don't know, morbid or something to some people, but you know, I mean, if you're just going and you don't have family there, it's probably like, okay, why do you want to go? But a lot of people find peace and serenity in, I mean, and I was telling my mom yesterday, like, it's such a peaceful place to go and sit, you know, take your coffee, take your lunch, or just go sit over there and just kind of walk around, and just, it was just so sad. It was just reading the headstones of so many people, and like seeing their, you know, their birth and the death, and how many are still alive and how many were, you know, were lost. And there was one particular one that was just a couple rows down behind my sister, and the headstone was beautiful, and it was one of those family headstones where, you know, there's a place for each one. And the one on the end was a guy who was born in 1968, and then he died in 1988. 78, 88. No, it was 98, because he was like 30 or 31 years old. And on the back of his headstone, it was a what he had written, and it was in his font. And I'll include the picture of it. It's really small, so I just kind of rewrote it, and it just really touched me in a way that I could only imagine that it sounds like something that somebody would say if they were dying and they knew they were dying. A lot of times you don't know when you're going to die, and in my sister's case, she was dying, and we were hoping for a miracle. And you know, so we did get to have conversations, we did get to cry and, you know, apologize and thank each other, and just keep continuing to pray and hope that she was going to survive. And ultimately it spread and metastasized and went everywhere in her body, to the point where it was in her brain. And at that point, it was kind of like a saving grace, as crazy as that sounds, because she didn't even know she was dying, because her brain was so filled with cancer that she was just like a child, and childlike. So she wasn't, you know, she wasn't crying and she wasn't scared. She just didn't know she was dying. And so prior to that, you know, months and months before that, we had lots of conversations. So not everybody gets a chance to make things right with people, or apologize, or, you know, just have conversations. And it sounded to me like, the way I read it was, it really sounded like he knew he was dying, and somebody interviewed him, or a family member or whatever, and it was in his font, and these were his words. And these words kind of just break it down for everybody dealing with loss, depression with COVID, any type of mental illness that you've had and struggled with and battled, lost family members to suicide, or you yourself, you know, contemplated suicide. And I just want to read these words. I just want to read what it said. And I lost my page. Sorry, guys. Basically, it's his name was Dan, and it's Dan's thoughts on life. And that's what it said at the top, Dan's thoughts on life. So his name was Dan. Rest in peace, Dan. Whoever you are, you know, I know you're in heaven. But and I hope it's okay that I'm using your words, but it just really was powerful, and so I felt the need to share. Reach out with your gifts. Reach out to the world with a lot of thanks. Thank the world. Reach out to life with activity, thought, and thanks. Use your life. Be active with your talents. Reach out to others with compassion. Listen to others. Hold others. Thank others. Smile with others. Cry with others. Laugh with others. Forgive others. Forgive their weaknesses. Pray for them. Support them in their need to grow. Support them in their growth. where they are afraid, weak, violent, disillusioned, insensitive, disrespectful, thanklessness, crude, ignorant. Support them on their growth. We all need to grow. Reach out to God. Open your eyes to see God in all and everything. Listen for God in all sounds. Thank God. Trust God. Reach out to yourself. Forgive yourself. With endless questions, you have a treasure in yourself. Know that treasure. Use that treasure. Be open to yourself. Love yourself. Find growth. Enjoy growth. Accept growth. Support growth. Every day, try to grow. It was just so... this just said everything that we need to do as human beings with one another and for ourselves. And just genuinely loving and being there for people. And I know that, you know, unless you're in the position where your life is on the line, or, you know, you've had a close call, or you lost somebody close to you, and, you know, you've had multiple losses, or, you know, you really have to be somewhat affected by something traumatic to have thoughts like this. And I've had thoughts like this many times throughout my life. And he really just broke it down to how we need to be with ourselves and with each other, and loving and forgiving and accepting, and just forgiving and loving people and respecting them and for where they're at on their journey. And, you know, we're all on a different place in our journey, and sometimes we're further ahead on a journey. Maybe we have more growth in an area that you feel like somebody else should be thinking different, should be, you know, better at, you know, how they're treating us. And, you know, like I said in my last video, you know, I'm really going to try hard to not expect too much from people, and not expect too much from myself, and not beat myself up. And I just wanted to share this with you guys because it's a really hard time right now with COVID. And again, if you're already struggling, then you know that COVID really intensified everything, and it intensified everything for me. And I'm still going to continue on. I had a good day yesterday spending it with my mom. We had lunch, we talked, and, you know, they're just times and memories that I just genuinely, thoroughly enjoyed mother-daughter time. And we haven't had a lot of that this past couple years. And I'm just so grateful, and I feel so blessed to have that time with her. And I take advantage of any opportunity that I have to spend with her, and any opportunity I have to spend with my own kids, you know. And I want all my kids to be around me. Those that aren't around me right now, I'm just praying, and I pray on a daily basis that, you know, God will turn things around and restore our family. But, you know, just loving and appreciating people. We need each other. And as much as we think we don't, as much as we think, you know, I'm good, you do you, boo, and all that, you know, I say that all the time too. Like, I'm guilty of saying that, like, I'm just going to worry about me. And, you know, that's not how it should be. Yes, we need to take care of ourselves. But we also need to be there for other people. And you don't want to get walked on and, you know, taken advantage of. But, you know, you do want to open that door, let people know that that door is open, you know, let them feel comfortable to be able to call you or text you. Never, ever, ever feel like you're alone, and to where you're at a point where you maybe are contemplating suicide, and it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, everybody's asleep, you know, and it's like, I don't want to call anybody, I don't want to text anybody. It would just be so much easier just to not reach out. And that's what happens a lot of times, is sometimes we think we could stop somebody from committing suicide, but we just can't. There may be a time that we might intercept it, but if somebody has made up their mind to commit suicide, they're going to do it. It might not be that night, it'll be a later date. It may not be for another month or a year. But when we were growing up, and when we were kids, and he would be mad and upset, he was very sensitive and emotional like me. And he would run around the house and say, I'm going to find dad's gun and kill myself. I'm going to find dad's gun and kill myself. You know, you really got to pay attention to those little things. Like, of course you're not thinking, oh my God, he's going to grow up one day and commit suicide. Like, or he's going to grow up one day and be like the Columbine shooters, you know, like you don't know, but you really have to pay attention. Parents now, especially, you need to pay attention to what your kids are saying. I mean, they're watching and playing all the crazy games, video games, zombies, and, you know, all the, I don't even know the names of them, but you know, all the video games that they're playing where they're killing people, shooting people, blowing things up. And, you know, that's all fine and good. You know, it's keeping them occupied. You know, is it the best thing for them? Probably not. But, I mean, who's to say what's good right now, what's best? Everybody's just trying to get through this quarantine time, and, you know, health and finances and keeping your kids occupied just so that they're out of your hair and you don't have to deal with it. But really pay attention to what people around you are saying. And some, you know, a lot of times I've heard that people say, you know, oh, they just want attention. Like, oh, she's just saying that, you know, she's just drama and she's just dramatic. And, you know, I don't want to be that person to talk to somebody that one last time, or I don't want to be that person to say, oh God, she's not going to do it, he's not going to do it. I don't take anything for granted, and I don't put nothing past anybody, because mental health, when you're struggling with mental health, you have to know what it's like to struggle with mental health, to know how close it is and how dark your thoughts can be, to bring you to a place where you think the only solution is to take my life, to end my life, because you see no other way out. We shouldn't have anybody in our family, in our close circle, that feels that they are so alone and so desperate. That means that we're not doing our job as loved ones. We're not noticing their quietness. We're not noticing their secluding themselves. We're not noticing because we're so tired and stressed out ourselves. We're just like, oh, okay, text me tomorrow. Like, hopefully I won't have to deal with it tonight. You know, we need to make sure that we are open. The door's open. I don't care if it's 3, 4, 5 in the morning. My phone's on. If you text me and you don't get me, call the other phone. And, you know, you just need to let people know that you're there for them, because suicide does not have to be the only option. And a lot of times it's the last resort. A lot of times people on medication just go ahead and do it. But this just really made me think that he might have been sick. I don't know if he said this on his deathbed. I don't know if this was something that he said before he even knew he was going to die. But nevertheless, these words were in his mind, in his heart, in his spirit, and he felt the need to say it and put it down on paper. And it meant a lot to me. And so, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you guys and touch base on the whole mental health level. Get help if you need it. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed to be on medication. There's no shame in it. You know, it's like not the cure all, but medication, if you could get a little bit of counseling or even just talking with people, you don't want to go to a therapist, you know, go to a church, talk to somebody. Just, I promise you, getting through that one dark night, you know, praying through it, do whatever it is you have to do. You know, God is listening. God is 24/7. He is ready to listen. He's just waiting for you to call on him, and he will never leave us nor forsake us. So don't ever feel like you're alone. We may not have physical bodies around us, but we always have God. And if you have God, you have everything. We want physical bodies, but you have to remember that the Holy Spirit is just waiting for you to reach out. And not everybody believes the way I believe, and that's okay. Whatever it is that you believe in, reach out, have faith, and just know that there are people out here like myself who understands, who knows what it's like to struggle with those dark nights and those dark days and those very dark thoughts, you know, the grimy thoughts, the stinking thinking, the, you know, there's no other choice. We have choices, and we can get through this together if we stick together as a whole, as a family. But I wanted to share those words with you guys. It was on my heart, and I just felt like I needed to. So I took a picture of it and tried to blow it up so that I could see the words, and I wrote it out, and I'll include the actual picture that I took from the headstone. I don't think it's morbid or anything, because it was a beautiful, just so beautiful, on just as human beings. And the world is in an ugly place right now, and we need to replenish the beauty, the love. We're like in the negative, in the love, and I haven't even watched the news today, and I don't even want to watch the news today. So I'm going to try to stay in a little peaceful state. I detox from social media and the news sometimes, because I have to, because mentally I can't just, like, I can't hear one more negative thing. And I know there's a lot of people that would agree with me. So thank you so much for listening, you guys. I hope you found this video helpful or informative. Give this video a like if you liked it. Please subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Leave me your comments, questions, suggestions. Let's interact. Let me know your thoughts on mental health, if you've dealt with suicidal thoughts, if you've lost somebody to suicide or any type of tragic death, and you feel like you don't have anybody. Just leave your comments. Anything that I always forget, anything I forget to say, I will leave down in the description area, because I tend to forget things. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and look out for another video within the next few days, and I will see you then. Bye guys, have a good night.